From spirituality comes timeless wisdom. From shared belief comes universal truth. The river of life is threatened, and that threat now unites ancient traditions.
Islam itself has a very clear and a very defined position on the environment. We are here as temporary visitors on this planet. We need to look after the vegetation, the animals, the birds, the waters, the oceans, and begin to respect them. Because if we don't, we ourselves will be threatened.
I happen to come from the Jewish faith, and we believe that in a way that God owns the earth and we're custodians for the time being, and that we have a responsibility to look after it.
In the Catholic tradition, action on behalf of justice is an integral part. It's critical to preaching the gospel.
We are part of nature. That has also been emphasized in the Sikh tradition, that human beings are part of nature. So if you're part of nature, you can't allow yourself to destroy it, because this whole universe is basically a body of God.
So it's not difficult to find linkages with faith and environment. But what was, I think, not adequately assessed was the active role that the faiths could play in terms of the preservation of our universe. And by coming together, have a very powerful global force so that together we could unite to bring about a planet which all of us can share.
In seeking a powerful force to ensure a sustainable future, the faiths have brought together the gifts of their collective financial and spiritual resources to create the International Interfaith Investment Group, or 3IG.
3IG is first of all a multi-faith endeavor, an attempt to start a process of engaging all the faiths all over the world to talk to one another about their investments.
It provides a forum where the global faiths can have a conversation about this subject of investments and how it's consistent with their own faith beliefs.
It's important because we can show that the different faiths have the same objectives and that you can work together very well. And with financial assets, the objective is exactly the same. You want to use it in the best possible way for your world. And your world is our world. We have a common world. If you talk about the environment, you can't talk about a kind of Jewish environment, climate change, or an Islamic climate change, or a Christian climate, or a Shinto climate change. So it is our climate change problems which we have to tackle together.
It will also allow you, if you are engaged, for example, in shareholders activism or in conversations with companies, to combine your assets and to leverage them.
I could imagine the power of 3IG springing from a network that brings together the principal actors in the global economy. And by that I mean the corporations, the governments, and the communities, the people who live in the communities where the corporations operate. Because every community that hosts corporate activity is a stakeholder. They give the corporation the social license to operate.
The faiths have feet on the ground in places that lots of other folks do not, meaning that they are connected to the remotest villages in the world, and yet they're at the heart of the great cities of the world. I think we have a network of information and access that's unparalleled.
There are many levels of engagement with companies. We work on the supply chain, human rights. We have all kinds of pharmaceutical issues and healthcare issues, global warming, environmental justice, water issues around sustainability and privatization of water. Even as small investors, we've been able to really generate a good bit of change within corporations.
It is a platform for looking at new opportunities, investment opportunities, by organizing roundtables with secular partners or other asset managers or banks who are creating new funds or opportunities. And this has, of course, also to do a lot with the paradigm shift from just looking at their assets from what is called sometimes the negative screening towards a much more positive and proactive attitude in terms of their investments.
What if you actually said, the kind of world we want is a world in which energy is produced from renewable resources, in which housing was sustainable, in which healthcare was affordable, in which alternative energy production got the capital that it needed to develop to a level that it could effectively produce. And they said, well, yeah, that'd be marvelous. And we said, well, look, you know, actually, if 4 or 5 of you got together and decided you were going to put in assets into a particular sphere, you could make that sphere a viable commercial unit.
It's not just investment in terms of dollars in the stock market. We also have investment in land and the responsibility to conserve land. We have investment in forests.
We have 42,000 hectares of forest in the Diocese of Västerås in Sweden, and the Church of Sweden is one of the largest forest owners in Sweden, 380,000 hectares. We have our own forestry department. We have harvesting machines. My boss is a PhD forester. I mean, we're the forester guys. And we now have 3 developed investments, 2 in Mozambique and 1 in Angola. And the 2 in Mozambique, we've already started planting. Last year we planted 1,000 hectares, and this year we'll plant 2,600 hectares in both projects.
While these activist policies are laudable, the faiths also have a responsibility to practice sound financial management. 3IG offers its members access to an extensive knowledge base of best practices for socially responsible investing.
It's meant to develop management support tools, either for those religious organizations who are already at the far end of their investment policies, but at the same time also for all the organizations that are really at the beginning of their thinking process of how to direct and develop their investment policies.
It's helped us to develop our educational materials better because we've been able to, frankly, borrow from those that have been created by others. And we've also been able to engage in conversations with other small organisations that, like us, don't have any clout in the marketplace, and really we're consumers, but how one actually goes and speaks to a fund manager or finds somebody who can actually help you.
It's an institution that is independent, that is not driven by a hidden agenda, that they can see as their own. It's a kind of a safe haven that they can trust, which belongs to them, and where they feel safe enough to engage and share with them the struggles they are facing.
One of the most important things they need to do to succeed is to convince the fiduciaries of the faiths that these types of investments, socially responsible investments, are financially prudent. In almost each of the 50 industry sectors that we look at, if you take the ranked group of companies on CSR, corporate social responsibility, split it in half. The top half outperforms the bottom half by anywhere from 300 to 3,000 basis points per year. So we go out to mainstream financial institutions making the point, don't take these environmental and social issues into account because it's the right thing to do. Don't do it because it's good for the environment. Those are fine reasons, but do it because you'll make more money, and here's a lot of empirical proof to show that that's true.
And that stands to reason. If you're making less waste in your processes, your manufacturing production processes, there's less waste to dispose of. And disposing of hazardous waste is extremely costly. What's even more costly is having to clean it up after you've spilled it and released it into the environment. So we very much want the companies we invest in to be good environmental citizens.
3IG represents a historic confluence of the socially responsible investing and interfaith movements. The combined flow of these resources holds enormous potential for all.
The value proposition is, first of all, that you become aware of the fact that you're not on your own. It is a struggle, and it's usually also a struggle within the own community as such. And it's very helpful to know that others have been struggling too and have faced, in a number of cases, the same kind of problems you're facing. We are developing what we call a faith help desk function, which is basically a global personal network.
This has been quite a learning experience for me, to work with other faith communities and become brothers and sisters in this campaign.
Faith-consistent investment means to me that the assets which are under your control, you can be proud of where they are invested.
These ideas are being discussed in the 7th century when Islam first came, in the deserts of Arabia, what is now Saudi Arabia. And I think in that sense, this rediscovery of Islam becomes very important, not only for Muslims, but for non-Muslims.
The idea of bringing all of the faith communities together on the planet and really having very serious agendas that they can work on together, I think that's just going to be phenomenal.
Government officials, civil society, private sector, and the faiths are all necessary for us to have a global partnership that will make all our lives better, and more particularly give our children the chance of both hope and of peace.
People are longing for something, for spirituality, and that is exactly also what faith is giving. It gives that meaning to life, and also it gives meaning to their investments.